Queens, divas of a more mature age, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel today. I am the Eva Monroe, and today I thought that it would be fun to share a sewing project or two with you ladies. So last year I said, and if you remember I talked about this, I said I'm going to start making my own clothes. And so I've had a sewing machine for most of my adult life, but when I got a sewing machine way back I actually started out making things like curtains and bedspreads and all that type of stuff, placemats, you know. And then later on down the line, I started learning how to do my own alterations, like not in a professional way, but I learned that if you have some basic alteration skills and you own a sewing machine, you can wear anything. Like, because, you know, I'm funny built, okay, we can start with that. But it's hard for me to buy things off the rack. And I used to pass up on things, pants, they're too long, tops, oh, they don't fit me here, they don't fit me there. And then I learned that I can do my own alterations, and so that's something that I strongly encourage everyone to learn how to do, especially if you don't have a lot of money to be running to the tailor constantly. I also was using my sewing machine to like repurpose thrifted items, and I'm going to do a whole video on that. I'm going to show you guys how sometimes you can take a garment that is not very expensive looking or may have a few issues or doesn't fit you right and totally repurpose it, right? So ever since I think like around Thanksgiving, I really started digging into sewing. And so for Christmas every year, I always buy myself one really nice gift, right? Something really expensive. So this year I actually bought myself a serger. Best gift to myself ever. Like, my white light is crazy right now. But best gift ever. I'm so happy to have that. It was very expensive, but it was the best purchase ever. So you don't have to have that. You can find a sewing machine on Craigslist, OfferUp, clearance, many different ways you can obtain a sewing machine. Thrift stores, I've seen them in the Goodwill, many different places. So get yourself a sewing machine and get started. Now I have figured out, I'm going to talk about this loveliness here in a second. I made it. But I have figured out that I really gravitate towards vintage patterns. Vintage Vogue, listen, man, listen, when I tell you, I have some really nice ones. Hopefully I can start to share more of them. But man, this is a pattern. This is a vintage Vogue. I have already made the pants, and this is actually R10568 vintage Vogue. But look at this top. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to dig into this top. This top is amazing. I made these slacks, and I'm going to show you guys what pattern or what fabric I actually used to make these slacks. So this blazer right here, what I actually did, how I made this was I had a Dior blazer. It was thrifted, okay? And there were a couple things I didn't really like about it, but one thing that I was crazy about was the cut and the fit. And it just snatched me in all the right places, but it wasn't in the greatest condition. And so at first I started out saying, okay, I'm gonna make some, you know, alterations to it or whatever. I'm gonna fix a few things. And then I said to myself, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take it apart, and I don't fret not. I can put it back together if I want to, but I don't want to. It was thrifted. It was really cheap. But I decided to take it apart, okay? And I took it apart, and I'm going to show you guys. I talked about in a video one day, a thrift video, how I was going to take this dress apart. I actually took the dress apart and remake it or whatever. And somebody was like, oh, I just cringe at the thought. I'm upcycling and repurposing, and fear not, it always turns out to be something that I love so much more. So, you know, I know vintage is vintage or whatever, and this was a vintage Dior blazer, but like I said, everything has a lifespan, okay? And it wasn't in the best condition. So what I did was I completely picked the entire thing apart, seam by seam by seam, child. And I picked it apart. So this is actually the front panel of it, and I only took one side of it apart. That was all I needed to do. Both, you know, of course, naturally both sides of the front of it are the same. So I only took one side of it apart, completely apart. And then from that, what I actually did was I traced the pieces out on paper. Now this is called cloning your clothes, and there are definitely different ways that this can be done. There are many tutorials on YouTube that show you how to do this. People do this without taking the garment apart. They actually lay the garment down, use tracing paper, trace the garment out. But I wanted the exact cut. I wanted the exact fit. And with me taking it apart, what I found was that I already had the seam allowances and everything included in it. So it just made life easier for me to take the garment apart. So, I mean, if you go to the thrift store and you find a jacket or a blazer that fits you to perfection, but you hate the color, it's not in the best condition, this is definitely an option. So I traced the pieces out and transferred all the markings, the pockets, everything, child. And then I traced it out on my fabric, and the side that I left constructed was actually my reference. It was what I used to figure out like exactly how they connected things and where things needed to end, because this jacket actually has like lots of panels, like, which is what snatches you. So I love this thing. I'm so tickled by this jacket. I absolutely love it. I have a blue fabric that I'm actually going to make this out of as well. Now on this one, what I actually did to this one, because I made a muslin mock-up of this before I actually constructed the actual jacket, because I didn't want to ruin my good fabric, child. This is a linen, and I think this is going to be so perfect. Magenta and fuchsia are so hot spring, summer 20 of 22. So this is going to be perfect for that. But I actually went in, and when I did this one, I added 1 inch over here because I thought that I might make a collar for this. But I ended up not doing that. But the next time I make this jacket, I think that this jacket would be fierce if you added a collar, even a stand-up collar. So that's the good thing, child, about when you do things like this. You can get as funky as you want to. Look at the back of her. Oh, and she fits around every curve, and oh, snatches you at the waist. I'm super obsessed with this thing right here. So let me show you something else that I made. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this garment that I'm working on. This is a suit. It is a when I did the vintage Vogue, the slacks that I showed you, and the mannequin kind of has a faux pas going here. But this fabric is actually Christian Siriano, and I ordered it off of Fabrics. And Christian actually did I saw a dress, like a sundress, you know, kind of flowy sundress or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I have been looking for a black and white floral suit. Because y'all know I love a floral suit. I don't know why, and I wanted to make this thing my own. And so what I did was I used the blazer pattern is actually a simplicity blazer pattern. And so what I actually did was I wanted to do it in like a tuxedo style. So I made the lapels black, And I actually, let me raise, I'm going to try to raise this up. I don't know how tall she can go. How tall can you be, girl? Can you be tall? Okay, so what I actually did was I went in and I added a black stripe detail down the sides of the legs. And I actually did that with a bias tape. And I just thought, I was like, oh, I freaking lit. I cannot wait to wear this. I'm still working on this. I need to do some top stitching, but oh my goodness, I cannot wait to break this thing out. And it looks so stinking cute on me. Now the pants, so if you tried this pattern, because the slacks are actually from this vintage Vogue pattern that I showed you earlier, I actually went up to a size 14, which is like, I think when I did my muslin mock-up, I did a 10, because usually for me it's like 4 to 6 sizes that I need to go up in most of these patterns. So I did a 10 and it didn't work for me in some places, and so I was like, okay, so I need to take it up. And I should have went up to a 12, but instead I went up to a 14. So since I went up to a 14, there were some alterations and things that I had to make. But the next time I make these slacks, I will actually just do them in a size 12. Don't fall, lady. But let me let you look at the back of these slacks. So really nice, kind of slightly high-waisted, but the front has some really nice pleats on them. But I lived my whole life for this suit. Gorgeous, right? So thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you would like to see how I made the pink blazer, if you would like to see an actual video of me actually constructing a garment, I should do a blazer video, because I never in my wildest dreams ever imagined that I would be able to actually make something that I love so much, because y'all know I live for blazers, right? I love a good blazer. I would have never in my life, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would ever be able to make one. But it is so much more simple than you could ever think, and you can personalize it to you. You can make it, that's the thing about making your own clothes. You can do whatever the HELL you want to do. You can do whatever color, fabric, cut, whatever you want to do. So the possibilities are endless. So thank you, ladies, again, and until I see you again, be blessed and